being here. We are from Group BIP 3213, and today we are excited to share our analysis on a topic that sits at the very heart of modern education, using the SAMR model in ESL teaching. In today's educational landscape, technology is no longer just an optional add-on, it is foundational. However, simply handing students a tablet doesn't automatically mean they are learning better. The real challenge lies in shifting our mindset from using technology to transforming learning through technology. To unpack this, our presentation team consisting of Ahmad Zaim, Muhammad Iqmal, Hari Aromang, and myself, Muhammad Mirazi, and Muhammad Amirul Shafiq, has conducted a deep dive analysis. We would like to express our appreciation to our lecturer, Dr. Farah Nasya, whose guidance was instrumental in shaping our approach to this study. Over the next few minutes, we will walk you through how the SAMR framework can bridge the gap between traditional instruction and truly a transformative ESL learning. Hello everyone, it's me again. So moving on to the next slide. To ground our discussion in a real world practice, let's look at the specific parameters of our research. We focus on case study 7. This setting in an urban secondary high school is highly significant because it reflects a high connectivity ecosystems where digital tools are already a natural part of the student daily life. Specifically, our subject is a Form 2 ESL classroom comprising of 31 advanced level students. Because this learner already possesses a strong baseline of English proficiency, our pedagogical focus shift. We aren't just teaching basic grammar or vocabulary acquisition. Instead, we are leveraging their skills to foster high order critical thinking, and fortunately for us, infrastructure is not a barrier here. The school is fully equipped with reliable high-speed internet, and every student has access to personal digital device. Our core lesson objective is to have the student critically evaluate a topic that directly impacts them. The advantages and disadvantages of social media and online interaction. This specific backdrop provide the perfect sandbox to observe how the SMR model can move students away from being a passive consumer of technology and instead turn them into an active, collaborative language creators.
Hi, my name is Zaim, and now I would like to explain the SAMR model. The SAMR model was developed by Dr. Ruben to help educators to understand how technology can be integrated into teaching in a meaningful way. Instead of simply using technology for the sake of it, the model helps teachers evaluate whether technology is actually improving or transforming student learning experiences. The SAMR model consists of 4 levels, starting from basic technology use to complete transformation of learning. These 4 levels are substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. The first level is substitution. At this level, technology simply replaces a traditional tool, but there is no functional change to the learning task. In other words, students are still doing the same activity, just using a digital tool instead of a physical one. For example, instead of writing on essay Instead of writing an essay on paper, students type it using Microsoft Word or Google Docs. The task remains exactly the same. The only difference is the medium used. This level is useful because it introduces students to digital tools, but it does not significantly improve learning. Level 2, augmentation. Here, technology still replaces the traditional tool, but it also provides functional improvement that makes tasks more efficient and more effective. For example, students may use Google Docs to write their essay, but now they can also use spell check, grammar suggestions, voice typing, dictionaries, or insert hyperlinks and images. These additional features help students produce better work and complete the task more efficiently. even though the learning objective remains the same. So, compared to substitution, augmentation enhances the learning experience without changing the task itself. The third level is modification. This is where technology begins to significantly redesign the learning task. Instead of working individually, students can collaborate online using shared documents such as Google Docs. Multiple students can edit the same document simultaneously, leave comments, suggest revisions, and receive real-time feedback from both their classmates and teachers. These changes not only show how students complete the task, but also how they communicate and collaborate during the learning process. At this stage, technology has a much greater impact on teaching and learning because it changes the structure of the activity itself. The highest level is redefinition. At this stage, technology enables students to complete new learning tasks that would have been impossible without digital tools. For example, students might create a multimedia presentation, record a podcast, produce a video documentary, or collaborate with students from another country through online platforms. These activities go beyond traditional classroom learning because students are creating authentic digital products, communicating with wider audiences, and developing 21st century skills such as creativity, collaboration, communication, and digital literacy. This level represent the transformation of learning rather than simply improving existing tasks. If we look at the pyramid, we can see that the lower two levels, substitution and augmentation, focus on enhancing learning. Technology supports existing teaching practices but does not fundamentally change them. The upper two levels, modification and redefinition, focus on transforming learning. Technology changes how students learn and allows them to perform tasks that were previously impossible. As we move higher up the pyramid, the impact of technology on student learning becomes greater. To conclude, the SAMR model is a valuable framework for teachers because it encourages them to think critically about how they use technology in the classroom. The goal is not simply to replace traditional tools with digital ones, but to use technology in ways that improve learning and ultimately transform students' educational experiences. By progressing from substitution to redefinition, teachers can create more engaging, collaborative, and meaningful learning opportunities for their students. So now that we have understood the four levels of the SAMR model, let's see how this framework can be applied in an actual ESL classroom activity. Next, I will explain how our activity fits into level 1 of the SAMR model, which is substitution. In this activity, students work in groups to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of technology. After their discussion, they write a paragraph summarizing their group's ideas using Google Docs instead of writing on paper. This activity is classified as substitution because Google Docs simply replaces the traditional writing medium, which is pen and paper. The students are still completing the same task. They discuss the topic, write a paragraph, and present their ideas. The learning objective remains unchanged, and there are no new digital features being used to transform or redesign the activity. Although the task itself stays the same, using Google Docs provides several practical benefits. First, students can type their work, which is often faster and neater than handwriting. Second, the teacher can view students' work digitally, making it easier to monitor their progress and provide feedback. Third, Google Docs automatically saves students' work, so there is less risk of losing their assignments. Finally, using Google Docs supports a paperless classroom which is more environmentally friendly and reduces the need for printed materials. However, despite these advantages, the activity remains at the substitution level because technology is only replacing paper. Students are still discussing the advantages and disadvantages of technology in the same way they would in a traditional classroom. There is no significant change to the learning process or the task itself. So, this is a good example of substitution, where technology serves as a direct replacement for a traditional tool while keeping the lesson objectives and classroom activity exactly the same. Now that we have seen how Google Docs function at the substitution level, let's move on to augmentation, where technology not only replaces traditional tools but also adds features that improve the learning experience.
Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Muhammad Kamal Daniel bin Romi. Next, I will explain the augmentation level of the SAMR model. For this level, we chose Grammarly together with Google Docs. In this activity, students first discuss the advantages and disadvantages of technology in groups. After that, they write a short paragraph in Google Docs while Grammarly is turned on. As they write, Grammarly provides instant suggestions for grammar, spelling, and punctuation. Students can correct their mistake immediately instead of waiting for the teacher's feedback. This activity is considered augmentation because technology improves the original writing task by adding useful features such as real-time feedback. However, the learning task itself does not change. Students are still completing the same writing activity, but they can do it more accurately and efficiently. This also helps students become more independent because they learn to identify and correct their own mistakes while writing. For the modification level, we selected Padlet. In this activity, students work in groups to share their opinions about the advantages and disadvantages of social media on a shared Padlet board. After posting their ideas, each group reads each other's group responses, leaves comments, asks questions, and replies to the feedback they receive. This activity is classified as modification because technology significantly changes the way students complete the task. Instead of only presenting their ideas to the class, students are able to interact with many groups at the same time through an online discussion. This encourages collaboration, peer learning, and active participation. Students also become more engaged because their ideas are visible to everyone, and they can continue discussing even after the presentation.
Moving on to the final tier of the SAMR framework, we have redefinition, where we leverage TikTok and Canva. For this level, the activity requires the students to recreate short videos or digital campaign exploring the advantages and the disadvantages of digital technology and how it affects daily life. They will then upload and share this creation with their peers. This truly represents redefinition because the task would be entirely inconceivable without technology. Instead of just writing or discussing statically, students are actively producing, publishing, and sharing original multimedia content. This approach offers key benefits by fostering students' creativity, providing real-world communication with an authentic audience, and building critical digital literacy and task ownership. To wrap up our analysis, this comparison table summarizes the entire pedagogical progression for our case study. We start at substitution by simply moving opinion writing from paper to Google Docs with no functional change. We enhance this at augmentation by integrating Grammarly for real-time formatting feedback. The lesson shift into transformation at the modification stage using Padlet to enable collaborative peer discussion and interactive comments. Finally, we reach redefinition with our TikTok and Canva digital campaign. As a concluding talk, it is vital to remember that the ultimate goal of digital integration is not always to hit redefinition. Rather, effective teaching is about choosing the right SAMR level to support the specific learning objective.
To conclude, the SAMR model shows that technology can enhance ESL learning when it is used with a clear purpose. As we have seen, learning progressed from simple digital replacement at the substitution level to creating authentic and meaningful learning experience at the redefinition level. Through tools such as Google Docs, Grammarly, Padlet, and TikTok or Canva, students not only improve their English communication skills, but also develop digital literacy, creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking. However, it is important to remember that the goal is not always to reach the redefinition level. Teachers should choose the SMR level that best supports their learning objective and student needs. Thank you for your attention. We hope this presentation has given you a better understanding of how the SAMR model can be effectively applied in ESL classroom.